Yeah, so there's certainly, a progression in terms of the music I was checking out and, people I was listening to, from a young age, having my brother buy records or buy CDs, and turning me on to stuff, so there was always that interest in music, definitely, and I would get real into it.
Yeah, it's cultural.
Yeah.
All the kids, it's music. It's a way,
Sure.
It's a big deal.
Uh-huh. Yeah. And then growing up, around high school age, I started playing around middle school, so I had, influences there that were anything from, hard rock, to, hardcore band, screaming and that kind of stuff, letting it out.
Great, man. Let's go.
Yeah, so we, went through that phase, and then getting into high school, more, kind of rock music, definitely that was pretty prominent there. And, I had a lot of friends that were like, kind of had eclectic taste, I guess you could say. I had some friends that were kind of into, electronic music, and then some guys that were into, more jam band stuff, and other guys that were into, rock or indie rock or whatever you want to call it. So there was always like, it was kind of like a mix of different things I was getting turned on to, and, digging it. And then as I, further progressed, just appreciating more, getting into the soul music, rhythm and blues, definitely being a bass player, I love old, Motown bass players and, those cats, James Jamerson and Willie Weeks, a lot of those guys, Chuck Rainey, those guys that were playing on those R&B records.
Oh, you got Jim Rainey too on guitar.
Right, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so so definitely that started to the dance music. I was into playing that. After the the high school stuff started to fade out, more into college. And when I was studying, there was definitely the jazz, interest. I definitely liked it and liked listening to it. But it's kind of started, more with in terms of my playing. Just kind of. Jamming with friends and getting a feel for it, certainly some jam bands I was into, I like the band Fish a lot, so, Trey Anastasio.
Joe Fish?
Not Joe Fish, this is just Fish, like P-H-I-S-H.
Oh, I see.
Okay. Kind of like jam, that kind of came,
I see. Okay.
From a similar circuit. The music's not the same as the Grateful Dead, but kind of in that same vein,
I see.
So that kind of, I would say that kind of, opened me up a little bit in my progression, so I've seen a lot of their concerts, and I feel like he has a certain, presence about him. He's got a heart, I feel like he's a genuine person and musician, So I was definitely inspired by him, and and then as I kind of kept opening up, I guess, more, and then starting to study, do yoga for myself and get into that. That's when I'd say the jazz, kind of got more, became more of a factor, and wanted to study it, and then certainly, being brought into what's going on here, I started to see the correlation of, the practice and the yogic, aspect, and, the other stuff was starting to fall away, I was into that, the jam stuff, but I would, hang out and play with a lot of those cats, and, there's just a lot of karma, a lot of suffering, a lot of drugs, a lot of drinking, and then, I was starting to move away from that. I was starting to practice more, and
feel more light.
Feel more light, and, so from there, from my, I guess you could say, from my inside, I was starting to feel like the expression, wanted to be more expressed freely, and I didn't want to suffer that same stuff, and just keep playing the same old music.
Because it's suffering.
Yeah.
It's really the music of suffering for the most part.
Yeah, exactly.
But people don't know that. They're at a developmental interest stage of it, and so they're learning from it. They're growing up and gaining experience as musicians, as beginners, or as let's say cultural musicians. But it's still suffering.
Sure.
Right? And it's an outlet for their suffering. So it's a bit of a balancing of their suffering. They have to play. They have all this neurosis, so they have to play, they have to blow, they have to express themselves, and they need sex, and they need this, and they need that. All of this is part of the search. This is the search engine. See?
Yeah.
Finding out what works for you and what doesn't work.
Right.
Because in the beginning, what works doesn't work after a while. See? So it's all let us say, conditional. Depends on the conditions of your life or your world.
Oh yeah.
And
Absolutely.
go ahead, proceed from there. Yeah.
Yeah. So, yeah, and then certainly, as mentioned before, seeing Rockland play, and then getting, brought into what's going on.
You mean
here.
explode?
Yeah.
This cat explodes.
Right. Yeah. That was like completely.
That's what he was taught to do, by the way. Yeah.
Right. Oh yeah. Sure. Yeah.
Right. I always felt he wasn't playing enough
Mm-hmm.
in the beginning.
Mm-hmm.
So no, there's more to it than that, man.
Right.
You can't just be a jazz drummer and expect to be a drummer.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
not,
Sure.
It's the starting point.
Yeah,
Go ahead, finish
absolutely. Yeah, so
Yeah.
now that I'm here, I'm kind of, we've talked about this, I'm kind of like, kind of revamping my whole thing, so, now going back and, studying the jazz more and getting my foundation, in that, and, not that I wasn't studying that before, but I feel like it's, again, it's more of a letting go of all that stuff that I've been working with, and feeling like, that was it for me. Now this is like a revamping or an upgrade.
Now you realize nothing is it.
Right. Yeah.
Nothing is it. So it's cultural forms.
Yeah.
So, I mean, people go through these forms until they are full, and then it's a matter of giving back.
Mm-hmm.
And what they're willing to give back. If it's the same old, then that might not be enough for them.
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah. So I would say now that this is the,
Because even in the guitar world, I did come upon and cross paths with certain great guitar players,
Sure. Yeah.
but I never felt that was my thing. I felt, I understood it. It was good. As a drummer, there was no thing. There was no particular thing. And even now, when I'm sort of moved to play or allowed to play or asked to play, I'm still the drummer who plays guitar. But it's coming from the drum. It's not coming from the guitar school or the guitar mind, per se. Because I've had company with some of the greatest jazz musicians, and guitar players. Ed Bickert, I knew him. Up in Toronto, and I was very close to Lenny, who stayed with me at times, and we had spent enough time together. Right? He was very much into what I was doing. He'd come and stay at my place. He was curious because he was like the genius of the guitar. Styles. He played them all, and he says that wasn't him. He would say that. He said, I play everybody's thing, but I don't know what my thing is. And I'm thinking, man, your thing is everything. But that wasn't it for him. He was still disappointed in himself, which could be a sign of the creative in him. But he was not happy, right? But yet he had it all together. So he was a good person for me to know, to get a better sense of the extreme in the music world. Not just because he was a guitar player, but because he was searching for something. A lot of the musicians are still searching for that thing. That means liberation. So they all have the music, they have the money, they have the women, they have the power, but they don't have the thing. They don't have the liberation. Comment on that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. No, that's. Even the most successful, many of the most successful musicians, they just, end up dead, or, they kill themselves off, that there's not a equal, to success, to worldly possessions and, money, and as you mentioned.
And on that note, I was really happy when Larry Coryell gave me a call once. He came upon one of my records. He said, man, this is really good stuff. Do I know you? And then I told him, yeah, we had an encounter. in, let's say, 1965 at the Vanguard in New York City in 65 when he was playing with Moses. Right, they had a trio and Larry was singing, very hip, beautiful stuff, I went there with my mom, so it was me, Larry, and my mother together talking. Right, and then Rockwell was out there, the maniac. I was crashing and banging, but he was great, And that was our initial contact. So I have those roots. See, I have these impressions from the people that I met by coincidence or by karma. I think destiny in some cases. To know Lenny, to know Ed Bicker, to know Sonny Greenwich, to know all these other guitar players, even momentarily, was part of awakening to what I was here to do. And I'm saying, well, these guys know what they're doing, but that's not what I'm doing. They were guitarists who were into the guitar mind. I said, no, I'm a drummer who has a whole different approach to this whole thing, melodic structure and music. It's a different approach. See? And so what have you gained from this approach that you can speak to? Because you're attracted to it.
Oh, yeah,
Definitely.
Yeah.
Speak.
Well, certainly, on the aspect or talking about listening to the music or being affected by it, seeing you perform live, I could say that, that I, just
you've heard enough guitar players.
Yeah, I've heard plenty of guitar players, that I feel better when I'm listening to this music, and, if I'm sensitive and if I'm practicing, getting more in the stream, when I go back and listen to things, like I said before, how things become hollow or don't have the same impact on me as they once did, I feel that they're, you just feel more of the suffering in all the other music, and here it's just, it's about the liberation,
Yeah, it's not about music.
Freedom. Yeah.
It's not about music. I use music,
Right.
but it's not about music.
Yeah.
See, I mean, I've heard music, but it's not about music. See, and so my approach is psychic from childhood, having a different sense of hearing and playing, and it was a yoga for me as well, because I remember as a child, and this is maybe likely to happen to a child, maybe before adults, I would float. I would play the drums and then float up. And that was like a very peculiar sensation to me, and my body filled with pleasure and bliss that, I didn't want to stop. Right? Maybe that was like from innocence, maybe, or whatever. And sound, the drums and the rhythm, all things considered, I was like a drummer. And I said, I love this. This is God. So I'm just saying that now because, you gave me an opportunity to speak about it. But that's the basis where I come from. So although I know music, and I played with a lot of great cats, and played with a lot of music, different people, in different places, it's still drums first for me. It's always about that, it's the drums. And I feel drums to keep me close to my heart nature. And so if I tell you I don't play from the music that everybody's listening to, and you try to copy my music, you know it for sure. If you know their stuff, you know my stuff, I play from raw emotion. I'm telling you that, but you find that out yourself if you listen close enough. Comment?
Absolutely. Yeah, there's no question about that. Yeah.
How I'm feeling. It's not about what I learn.
Right.
I don't play from there. I mean, I could look at somebody in a gig and just play them. Work, interrelate to them. So, yeah, okay. That's just one example. Maybe not a good example, but yeah.
Right.
No, I hear things, here, and I play from a whole different basis that is true to my experience as an emotional being, right? A heart being. And so a lot of people don't relate to what I'm playing because it's maybe too fundamental to them. And I say, yeah, that's the way that I play. And so I don't call it jazz, I call it hot fire sound. And those are the levels. Heart, emotion, fire, intensity. Real, like, mind and body splitting intensity. I say, what is it, Kundalini energy. I feel it in me. It's like explosive energy. So and fire sound, right? It shows up in music, but it's also a presence. So it's not even music. It's just, people feel it. It's presence.
Yeah.
Nice.
Absolutely, yeah.
So you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah, and then being here, I get to see how you live, and we get to talk, and I see that you're, a living example. You're not just, playing that music, and it's not a facade, or it's not, you're not just putting on a show. It's more about
It's an extension of a lifestyle.
yeah. There's a genuineness there, you know. Which,
Continuation, a continuum.
Yeah, definitely.
It's the way I breathe. Right. I'm not saying I'm a good player. I'm saying that I try to be as true to my feelings as possible, and I think the musicians who are close to me feel that. That's what they like about my playing. Rashid definitely enjoyed that. You know, he enjoyed playing with me. Mm-hmm. Farrah did for a while too. I remember Farrah. I can't forget my old buddy Farrah. Farrah Sanders, man, great guy. And others, you know, a lot of great players. Rakhan, you know, all the beautiful people. See, so this is what we're talking about, the spiritual side of the music and the spiritual side of the world. See, it's alive and well for people who need to slow down, come off of their neuroses, and resonate properly with it. Get in touch with the harmony that is waiting for people, the spiritual side of things. See, that's why you're here, and I hope you're enjoying your stay here and learning what you can on all levels, because it's not just about music, you know. There's a whole lot of other things going on, and you help out. It's great to have your service here, and it's good to have Shunya's service before, and he's a very brilliant person in his own right, and I'm sure he's doing well, and we want everybody to do well here, and keep progressing. Keep progressing. Thank you, Hugh. Hugh.